Alrighty, now for the second project for Farmer's Market. We're gonna make a casing for this deep freeze. I started opening it already. Didn't even think twice. Sorry. But yeah, this is, I don't even remember what size. It was the biggest one Lowe's offered at the time, which is smaller than the one that we use in our house, which was the biggest one that Lowe's had at the time. So, I don't know, it's a Whirlpool. For me, the biggest kicker was that this, I'm gonna pull it up now, make sure I don't lose it. This one comes with a lock and a key. And I don't even think, apparently you should not let a kid get a hold of the key to prevent them from being entrapped. Our fridge in the house, I don't even know if it has a lock. But yeah, this one does, and that was a huge reason I wanted this freezer. Beyond it being the biggest one, so then I don't have to take meat back and forth to market very often, because we get to store the freezer there. So I wasn't worried about having to load it in and out multiple times. Although really, it's not that heavy. I don't know if now that the stuff has been moved, but it's not that bad. Me and one guy loaded it into the back of the truck with absolutely no issues. Now once it has meat in it, of course, that'll be a different story. So the casters I got are 350 pound a piece casters that are non-marring, because they didn't want to mark up their floors since we were gonna have to move this around in case they have events or things like that, or depending on where I'm set up that week. So I got 4 of those. So that's like 1,400 pounds, and this thing can't weigh, I mean, I doubt it weighs like 100 to 200 pounds. As easy as I can pick it up, like it looks like it should weigh more, but like, honestly, I would almost bet that I could pick this thing up by myself and it not weigh, it's just awkward shaped, you know, it's big, but if it was condensed, I doubt it would be more than 100 pounds, if even that. So, now of course it'll weigh quite a bit more once we wrap it, and then once we fill it with meat. It is, take off some of the top here. We can open it up. It's got 2 racks and then a dividery thingy, which I had never seen in a freezer before. So that's really interesting. This, and it slides down in a track right here to help keep things on the, oh come on, that won't go back in. I'm trying to do it one-handed. It's pretty flimsy, not gonna lie, this little plastic thing. To help keep stuff on top of the that hump that's in all freezers where the motor and everything is. So I was also picking up the non-motor side, so maybe, yeah, it is a little heavier on that side, but I still couldn't imagine it being more than 100 pounds total. Because I could still pick it up with, you know, one and a partial pinch grip like that. So yeah, we're gonna get this bad boy wrapped. We're gonna be careful to dodge both the lock spot so we can keep locking it. We're gonna dodge on the back the vent down there to make sure that this can still breathe. The way we're gonna wrap it, because a lot of modern freezers, they will, they actually use their outer skin to release excess heat as it's running. So we will have a 2x4 framing, and then the material goes on top of that, and then that leaves air gap for that so we don't reduce its efficiency. So then hopefully what it'll really do is it'll actually just add more insulation, and so then it shouldn't have to kick on near as often. And then also this one has we'll also dodge the little box that most freezers have that give you the green light or red light to let you know if there's a problem or if it's all good. And then it also has a little dial so that you can change it from refrigerator to freezer. So we're gonna dial that all the way to freezer, of course. Keep it running as cold as possible, especially since we're not paying for the electricity beyond our farmer's market fees. Yeah, let's get to cracking. Okay, so I'm experimenting. I saw a pretty similar design to this online, except the center braces, there was just one on someone else's YouTube video. If I can remember them, I'll link to their video. But, so I just had this up on here. This dodges the 4 feet. Well, it dodges the 4 feet or 2 feet and 2 wheels. It's got 2 solid nub feet on the back and 2 little tiny wheels that only go one direction on the front. The problem is this side's feet and wheels are smaller than that side's feet and wheels because I don't know why. The stuff is over on that side, but they made these ones a little bit shorter than those ones. So the issue is when it sits up on this platform dodging the feet, that end sits higher than this end. So what I think I'm going to do, and then the other issue, and so it was like, well, I could just notch this or something, whatever, and maybe that would resolve it, but that seems kind of crazy. The other issue being that this thing is just tall. So it's already like, you know, almost perfect height here. But then when I throw it up on that, it's like, oh, okay, that's a little tall, not bad. But then I think about putting those big old wheels on there. I think they're 5-inch wheels, so I'm like, man, that's gonna plus the I don't know where my tape measure got off to here. Okay, tape measure is gone, so that's not helpful. I was gonna measure the wheels real quick. Okay, found the tape measure as soon as I hit the stop record button to look for the tape measure. So the wheels are, when the bolts are on and everything, gonna be like 6 1/4 inches tall, plus 3.5 inches for that. So that's like an extra, almost 10 inches tall. So that's an extra foot of height. That makes for a lot of extra height to try to reach down into the freezer. So I don't really want to do that. 6.5 or 6 1/4 is already enough. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull off what I just did, be sad that I just wasted those angled 2x4s. Take these regular, or the 2x4s that are the exact length of the inside piece, and take them down and mount them flush with the bottom of the existing frame, which is just bigger than the freezer. So the freezer can sit down in that. So then we'll only gain, instead of 3.5 inches height, we're only going to gain 1.5 inches of height, because that'll be the thickness of the 2x4. And then the whole freezer will sit in it, and it will have a level spot to sit. What I don't like is that of course means that, like, you know, it's a span 2x4 is what's supporting that weight. But what I'll probably do actually is take those angles and then run them underneath on the corners. So their 45s are cut the wrong way, so I'll just have to change the 45s. They'll have to come in a little bit, but they'll help brace. And then if I want, I could run a 2x4 that way to help brace up those where that weight will land a little funny. So let's toy with this a little bit more. Okay, so I've temporarily flipped it up over on its side. I know the compressor, I'll have to stand it back up. It'll sit all night, flip back up, so not a big deal. The reason why is because here's the drain plug, okay? So they went ahead and sloped, this is the side with the smaller pieces, and then it's bigger where the condenser is, sits down taller. It's so that the whole bottom slopes to that, and instead of making everything the same size, they just angled the entire structure. That seems like a really weird way to design that. So that the whole freezer kind of sits at an angle, but I guess whatever works, man. It'll sit the exact same way as how it is, since I'm creating a false floor for the legs to sit on that'll sit as if it was sitting on the normal ground. So I won't be changing how they've designed that. I'll just be hiding that inside the structure we're building. All right, here's our base. So I was worried about cross bracing, right? And then I gave it some thought. One, this sits outside the freezer, so there's no more than 1/8 of an inch all around. I wanted to leave a little bit of space off the wood from the freezer. So there's only 1/8 of an inch, so it really can't go that much because it has 1.5 inches up the thickness of the freezer. And as far as support goes, right, like, oh my gosh, all that weight, Okay, well, all that weight is on 4 dinky little legs and 2 little wheels and 2 legs. The whole rest of the freezer is off the bottom of the ground. If I can get the camera down there to show you, and I mean, if you have one, yeah, look at all that space. All of the weight that a engineer figured out, not me, but an engineer, that this freezer needs can be supported off those 4 little legs. So, and with my rough math of, 1,400 pounds, I figured as long as those wheels are pretty much directly underneath where those 4 legs are, we're then just transferring that point of contact from underneath it directly through to those casters. So those braces are just acting for a bit of rigidity. I've got some screws here in the side hood to help keep that board in place. That one, because of the way that they're angled, has to be out there. But I did move the casters just slightly out. So technically, the leg would be like right here on the edge, just inside of this, on both of these. Same on this one. It'd be just in the inside corner here. So it spread the weight out just a smidge. I don't know why that one they spaced it off the edge so much, but so we're barely moving off of that. So then these wheels are taking the brunt of all of that weight. But they're out on the edge, so they gain a little bit of rigidity and strength from the frame itself, which will have its own weight, the 2x4s and cedar planking weighing it down, so which will probably weigh near as much as the dang freezer itself. So we'll see. There isn't going to be anything on the back, because the back will be against a wall, so it's not going to matter. Yeah, so then we could also put the freezer in and take the freezer out, depending how we need. Yeah. I'm gonna flip it up, and then we'll start adding some sides on it. Okay, so I lifted it up on there. Those casters may have been overkill. I don't know, maybe once I load it down with meat, I'll feel differently and I'll feel better about it. Especially once it starts to weigh into those legs, into wood, soft wood. But this bad boy is tall. Like, it's at my belly button, which means reaching that back, I can, but I'm really stretching. So, really hoping I don't regret such giant wheels. To give you an idea here, my workbench is 34 and a half inches tall, and that's a good several inches taller. So, let's just use tape measure. Wing you guys all over the place there. Sorry about that. Terrible video quality. About 44 inches tall. So, yeah, I really hope I don't regret the height on this. From convenient height, but I would have had to just go with wimpier casters, so I don't know. Let's start working on the face. All right, use the pocket jig. Learned a few things. One, pocket jig is somewhat great and somewhat horrible. So you need to clamp it down like the instructions say. But unlike the instructions say, to do 2x4s, using the 1.5" setting on this is fine. Using the 1.5" setting on this, not fine. 1.5" setting here, coupled with the 3/4 inch setting there, gives you a screw that actually goes in. If you use the 1.5" setting on the Kreg jig, this, and the 1.5" setting here, which is what it's saying, is for the wood thickness gauge, and then it says to use the 2.5 inch screws, you get like 1/4 of an inch of screw when you're at the board. So of course it just pops right out. So that's not very helpful. But if you set it at that 3/4, then you get like 1 inch or so in there, 1.25 inches maybe. So plenty to be useful. And then it's flush and hidden with the other style too. When you did it, I have none that are left that way because I fixed them because it drove me crazy. The heads of the screws protruded out and so weren't hidden. I already dented the freezer because I dropped it. You guys got to miss that. I'm sorry. I apologize because I had to I took it out. I don't even remember why. It's like 10:50 now, and I've got market in the morning and still have to go swing by and get a black tablecloth and chalkboard and everything else before market in the morning and haul this here with all the meat. So this is as far as I'm going to get on this tonight. I will probably just bring it home tomorrow so that then I can put the face on it. All the pretty parts. But we've got the bulk of the framing done at least, so we're at least there. Not happy to take it this way, but it rolls. And that's the important part. All right, I'm going to bed, y'all. All right, there's the front of the freezer all laid out. I've got the sides cut. They're identical, so they're just matched pieces. All up on top of the freezer. I'm not bothering with the little corners. There. That one doesn't have one. And there. And it's a little out of whack because I kicked it a second ago trying to walk over to the table. I'm not bothering with the corners because I'm going to do 2-inch trim, and that'll cover up those corners. So I'll probably throw a little spacer in there, but it's not necessary beyond because you're not going to see it. And then there's such a wide base for the 2x4s to hide it. Yeah, I'm going to dig out the router and run through these. It's 11 o'clock at night, and I've got to get this done before work in the morning because I had a crazy busy week with projects for other people this week, so didn't get to my own projects. So I'm going to knock through that, and then I'll just catch you guys up as we start brad nailing it all on. All right, roundovers routed on all of those. Now we're ready to stain, and then going to slap them on. Stain on, and time check. It is 12:30 in the morning. Yeah. I have to be up for market at 5 o'clock to be able to do chores and get everything loaded and get there in time and unloaded and set up. So this is going to suck. I got to put all that on there and then rip the trim, stain the trim, put the trim on there. And I actually noticed I'm missing a board on the other side that I got to cut and screw in real quick too. Yeah, I'm going to keep cracking at it. Claire's off on a yoga retreat, so I have nobody to tell me to be smart and go to bed. And you guys will see this way too late to tell me that, so take that, okay? Everything is on. Including out around the vent, which is that other board I needed to cut, which is the brace that runs behind there. Now I gotta cut the trim, stain the trim, slap the trim on. It is 1:45 in the morning. All right, it's done. It is 3:15 a.m. I am going to go to bed. Actually, I need to shower to get all this stain off of me as much as I can. And then I'll go to bed and get up in like an hour or so, an hour and a half by the time I'm done showering. But here we go. So this is for the emergency lights, tell you whether it's good to go or not good to go. I just unplugged it to roll it over here and keep spinning around. It kept snagging on the cord. I will be plugging that immediately back in because there's some pork in there. It's been unplugged for like 10 minutes. It'll be okay. But that'll also can let you dial it down to a fridge. So should we ever stop selling pork, I guess I can just build a giant keezer. And then the vent hole space. The lock, super important, since I'll be storing this somewhere I'm not. And then the other side. That's it, folks. I wanted to build a lid top too, but you know what? I don't have time, and it already looks fine enough as is. So, yeah.